It is the Commanders Report mailbag here in the first week of the NFL offseason for your Washington Commanders. And today I'm going to be answering your questions on the burgundy and gold as we kick off the 2025 offseason here in the nation's capital. Before we get into the questions today, and thank you to everybody that submitted questions on the Steelers Talk live show held on Monday, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to be going live every single Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time this offseason. So make sure you click that subscribe button for your chance to make a question or get a question on a future edition of the Commanders Report. Got one coming in from Kieran who says, do you think Luther Burden will fall to 29? Excuse me. No, I don't. I think that people are going to watch his film. He's going to be a phenomenal tester at the combine. And, you know, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Derek Stingley Jr., where like he would have an incredible freshman season, and then he had a couple of down years because of injury and all these different things. The final 2 years he was at LSU. Luther Burden had a really good 2023 season, and in 2024, Missouri's offense was dog crap, so his numbers weren't as good, obviously. So some people are taking that against him, all these different things, but I think Burden is a special playmaker. He doesn't have the best size in the world, but he's a phenomenal route runner. He's great after the catch. I think that he's going to be an immediate day one starter in the league, and he's going to be really, really good. I would really be surprised if he's available for the Commanders at number 29. Then we got one from Jalen Stanislas. Hope I'm saying that right. It says, who do you think is our biggest signing will be this offseason? If I'd have to predict it right now, I will say Khalil Mack. All right, Khalil Mack is somebody that he's got the build of a Dan Quinn defensive end. You know, 265 pounds. He's still on film, super explosive. He's exactly what the Commanders are looking for. And I think that Khalil would want to come here and play for the Commanders because this is a team that's going to compete for a Super Bowl next year with Jaden Daniels. And honestly, they're going to compete for a Super Bowl the entire time he's here before he retires because Jaden Daniels is on his rookie contract. So I think that Khalil Mack sees this place as the place that he can win a Super Bowl to finish out his career. I think he'd be an excellent fit in this scheme. I don't think he'll be too expensive because he is getting older, and I think that that's going to affect his market value. So I think it's a perfect fit for both player and team, and I think Khalil Mack will be the biggest name that this team ends up adding this offseason. So tell me down there in the comment section, should the Washington Commanders sign Khalil Mack? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no in the comment section. Then we got on from Coolio. I like that name. I like the picture too. He says, do you think the Commanders will go for a new running back? And if yes, who will they go for? I do think they're gonna draft another running back. Now, I think that they're going to start the season, most likely, with Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler as the running back duo, with the person they draft being RB3. All right, because Chris Rodriguez Jr. and Jeremy McNichols are both free agents this offseason. I think they probably let both of them walk. Maybe they bring back Chris Rodriguez Jr. as a depth piece. But I think that they see Austin Eckler's getting old, and I think that they see Brian Robinson Jr. is just not a dynamic number one talent. He's a good number two back, is kind of like a power guy, that can eat some reps, but I think the Commanders want to get somebody that's a little bit more explosive. I would love to get a guy like Cam Scadaboo, Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, or Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I think those would be excellent fits. Also, Travion Henderson, super explosive guy out of Ohio State, the national champions. And R.J. Harvey out of UCF is a guy I would love to get on day two if he's available for the Commanders. Plays with excellent vision, excellent burst. I think R.J. Harvey is built like a number one running back in the National Football League. And if you can get him on day two, I think that would be a steal. So that is my question, and that's my answer for you right there in terms of the running back position there, Coolio. Then we got one from Braden. It says, trade Daron Payne and sign Osa Odighizuwa from the Cowboys and get more cap space. I mean, I don't hate the idea. The question is, who's going to trade for Daron Payne with his contract? And that is a legitimate question. What price would the Commanders take for him? Would they take a 5th-round pick for Daron Payne? Would they take a 4th-round pick for him? Like, what would be the price tag that they'd be willing to move off of him with? And, the thing about Odighizuwa is that he's not as big as Daron Payne. So I don't know if he's more of like a Jonathan Allen type than a Daron Payne type. And I think that if you're going to replace Payne with somebody, you got to get somebody that's a bigger body, somebody that's more of like a nose tackle, somebody that's a run stuffer. And, that's going to be a presence that needs to be replaced if they let go of Daron Payne. I don't think it's impossible if they move on from him because his cap hit is just so freaking large, as well as the person, by the way. But I think that at the end of the day, I expect Daron Payne probably to be back next year on that massive cap hit. Then we get to our sponsor today, which is PrizePicks, which is the best place to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action all on your phone, and you can join over 10 million members and sign up today. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. The big game is almost here, and I know you guys know what big game I'm talking about here, and it's now or never between the Chiefs and Eagles. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. PrizePicks is also giving away a free pick for the big game, where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you are correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. And how that works, guys, is like, let's say you take the free square on Patrick Mahomes. All you have to do is have one more projection that you get right during the big game between the Chiefs and Eagles, and you guys win with PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when you download the PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, run your game. Gregory Pett coming in here says, you think Allen could be a piece to trade for Crosby? I'm honestly not sure if the Raiders are going to trade Crosby unless he demands a trade out, which isn't impossible. But I think Pete Carroll is a player's coach, and I think that Crosby is somebody that could certainly sign up and volunteer his support for a guy like Pete Carroll, who's very high energy, who's very positive, all these different things. I don't think Crosby's going to get traded. If he is made available, I think the Commanders will be very much in on trading for a guy like Maxx Crosby. He's got the size that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. typically look for, and I think they would send the farm to go get him, whatever it took to go get him. And yes, that includes Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, anybody else outside of pretty much Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. But yes, if Maxx Crosby's made available, this team should absolutely do whatever it takes to get him. Then we got one from my girlfriend, Cassie Voth. Everyone spam Cassie in the chats. Is there a chance that we will trade down our first-round pick for more picks, which is Kenneth's question. So if you want to send me full screen here, Joey, in terms of trading down, I don't think it's impossible, but I think that if there's a good enough player that fits what you want to do, just take him. All right, if it's a wide receiver, if it's an edge rusher, if you got a player that you have a first-round grade on and they make it to you at number 29, just take it. All right, now there's always going to be people looking to trade up. Maybe they're trying to trade up for a quarterback, or maybe they're trying to trade up for a receiver that they really like, whatever the case may be. You could probably get a decent haul, and of course you have to take into account all possibilities. But there's a player that you really like at number 29 that you think can help this team win a Super Bowl next year. I think you got to pull the trigger on that. Then we got one from Jay Jitt, says, do you think Micah Parsons will follow Dan Quinn in D.C.? Probably not. I think he's going to sign an extension with Dallas at some point, and he's going to be there for a while. And I think the only way that he ends up in D.C. is if he hits the open market, which isn't possible. But, if that's the case, I would love to have him here. Obviously, he's a fit in the defense. I mean, he was phenomenal. Defensive Player of the Year candidate year in and year out in this defensive scheme. I just don't think a player of that caliber is going to hit the open market, and I don't think he's ever going to play for the Washington Commanders, unfortunately. So show me down there in the comment section. If you want Micah Parsons in the burgundy and gold, spam those 11s for me down there in the comment section. I would certainly love to see it. I just don't know if we ever will see it because I think he's going to be a Cowboy for life. But then let me know down there in the comment section what you think. Then we got one from Oscar. Says, would you rather take T. Higgins or Chris Godwin as your wide receiver too? I'd like both of them, Oscar, but, I think in terms of the price tag, because I think Higgins is going to cost around $34, $35 million per season. All right, like he's the best receiver on the market. There's a lot of teams that want receiver help. He's a really good receiver. I think he gets at least $33 million a year, and he could get anywhere between that and even $36 million a year. Like, it really could get that high for him, even though he's not better than Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Just teams are willing to pay this stuff because the cap's going up. With Chris Godwin coming off an injury, I think he'd be a lot more affordable. And you can put him in the slot. You can put him outside. You can put him in a bunch of different places. I would go with Chris Godwin because I think the Commanders are going to be paying a big money contract to Terry McLaurin this year. I don't know if they want to make 2 big contracts in the wide receiver room. All right, like I think that the most likely scenario is that they give Terry McLaurin the extension, and then that's going to be like $30 to $33 million per season, somewhere in that range. And then I think they draft a really good receiver either in the first round or in the second round to pair with him heading into 2025. Then we got him from Jeet, and he says, what do you think of Savion Williams as a prospect for the Commanders? Personally, I think his great size, athleticism, and blocking ability make him the perfect guy to use a day 2 pick on. I'd be fine with it, Jeet. I'd be fine with it. He still needs a little bit of refinement, and, he is very big, 6'5". I think he's like, I can't remember the exact size. I want to say 260, but that just seems like crazy. But I think it's 220. He is a really good player. And he can do a lot of things. He's obviously big, so he can post people up in the red zone and on deep passes. He's got really good physical skill set, a good straight line athlete. He's a good blocker because of that size. And then he can also be used as kind of a gadget player as well on jet sweeps. You can even use him as a running back at times, a fullback at times. You could do a lot of fun stuff with Savion Williams. So if the Commanders ended up taking him, I would absolutely be okay with that. But in terms of the route running, if you're looking for a route running specialist, he's probably not going to be your guy, at least not in year 1. So name your guy down there in the comment section. Who's a player that you want the Washington Commanders to draft this year? Jeet wants Savion Williams. Who do you want? Let me know down there in the comment section. That'll be it for this week's Commanders Report mailbag. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions. We do these every single week. We film them during the Commanders Report live shows on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Until next time, guys, go raise some hail.